It's great to see everybody joining us from all over the world, including the UK, the Middle East, and Africa. That's what I picked up on in the chat, so big welcome to you all. My name is Sarah De Freitas. As Matt mentioned earlier, I'm an educator with 25 years experience in education, and I'd really like to welcome you to our presentation today. So just a few bits of information about InterHigh. We were established in 2005. This is our 16th year of operations, and we conduct mainly live lessons. So we have 26,000 live lessons last year, and we think that this will grow this year as well. We also undertake about 1,300 recordings per week, and we have currently 3,000 children studying with us at Wey. And we've also got about 140 teachers at the moment, based mainly in the UK, but some are also overseas. All of our teachers are qualified to PGCE level and have degrees in cognate areas. So we have a very strong academic team. We're a leading provider of online education in the UK. So we really believe in online education, and we believe that it focuses our students on their futures and prepares them for the future with digital technologies. So we've got a very talented academic team leading the education area. We have 4 associate deans. So Dr. Chris Enos, who's joined us very recently, his PhD is in mass spectrometry, and he's been working in independent education for over 25 years. He leads our academic team. Paul Daniel is responsible for our curriculum and portfolio, and you'll meet him a little later. David Townsend is in charge of quality and evaluation and has a background in Her Majesty's Inspectorate. And Thomas Evans, who was previously head of operations here at Wey, is now leading on innovation and the learning experience. We're also supported by 3 heads of faculty. We have Roxanne Pearce as the head of faculty for science, Jenny Phipps, who's the head of faculty for humanities and social sciences, and at the moment Chris Enos is standing in as the head of faculty of arts while we recruit one. We try to make our experiences come alive as much as possible, and we focus on student engagement and interactivity, and we're developing a whole range of interactive virtual labs and virtual experiences for our students to experience. We're also headed up in terms of the academic side of what we do by Dame Erica Pienaar, who some of you may know about. She was previously on our board and now has retired from the board, but is still working with us closely as Chancellor Emeritus of InterHigh. She heads up and chairs our academic council, so that has oversight for the academic side of what we do. And she's also supported by an external member, Carolyn Unstead, who has a lot of experience in school education as well. What we really pride ourselves on is being able to provide differentiation for different sorts of students, and we try to create as much flexibility as we possibly can so that our students can balance their own freedom and control in terms of their own education. And we've been strengthening our health and wellbeing team over the last year or so. That's headed up by Thomas Millington, who brings together a team of 2 central health and wellbeing leads, Susan Burke and Charlie Linden, and a team of, I think it's 10 to 15 health and wellbeing coordinators across the school. So they work together as a team. They provide support both for academic and for social and personal wellbeing for all of our students, and we work very closely to support all the different needs of our students. So I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Paul Daniel, who's going to take you through some of the details of InterHigh. Paul, over to you.
Good evening everyone, thank you Sarah, and as you can see my name is Paul Daniel. So I'm going to go through some aspects of the school, and hopefully I'll pick up on a few of the questions I saw in the chat earlier on, although there is a question and answer section later, and also the FAQs on the website, which contains many answers to your questions. So, just a couple of quotes from our parents here, which you can have a read of. We do get a lot of positive feedback from our parents, from our students, and they tend to appreciate the flexibility of what we offer at InterHigh and how it fits in with their lifestyles, their travelling, and their pursuit of how they want to educate their own children in their very much in an independent way. A short video now. Apologies if some of you may have seen this earlier in the prequel, but there are a lot of people who've come in late, so I'm just going to show this video about what our students think.
Hi everyone, my name is Yasmin and I'm here talking about why I love InterHigh. InterHigh is an amazing online school and the staff is so welcoming, as well as the students, and I've learned so much from being there.
I think InterHigh is great because the lessons are interactive, the teachers are kind and helpful, and you can go to school anywhere, in your home, on the beach, on a mountain, or even on a roller coaster.
InterHigh is great. It has made me enjoy learning again. I love creative art. It makes me so happy. And the recorded lessons are a lifesaver.
I travel around the world doing surfing competitions, and that's why I really enjoy InterHigh. It's because it gives me the freedom to be able to travel and train and do lots of competitions, but I can still do my schoolwork while I'm doing all these things, and that's why I really enjoy it.
It's amazing being able to speak to everybody everywhere in the world, like Dubai or Hawaii, so that's really cool.
So, what's the best part about going to InterHigh? Well, it means you can have a classroom with a view.
Okay, great. So that's some feedback from our students. When we asked them to produce a video about what they liked about InterHigh, then that's what they came up with. And that shows very much so that the sort of independent learners that we develop at InterHigh. And we get a lot of feedback when they come back from college and university telling us how at InterHigh they've learned to become very much an independent learner. They're able to learn from themselves. They're not reliant on being pushed and fed through an education system. They're able to find things out for themselves and learn themselves, which is a very important skill when they go to college, university, and of course life. Just to go through the sort of ages and key stages one by one. Some people may know these years and key stages. Some people from outside the UK may not be so familiar. And although the majority of our students, 70-odd%, come from the UK, we do have a large percentage across the world, Middle East, Africa, Asia, the Far East even. So just to run through these. Oops, a bit too quick on that one. So there are 4 key stages we cover. Key stage 2, we do years 4, 5 and 6. So these are students being 9, 10 and 11 during those school years. Key stage 3 is the start of secondary school in the United Kingdom, years 7, 8 and 9. So these are students being age 12, age 13 and age 14 during the school year. Then we move on to key stage 4, where we do the international GCSEs. And these are students being aged 15 and being aged 16 during the school year. And then finally, those that have progressed that far can move on to key stage 5, where we do international A-levels, and obviously this enables students to move on to university and college. And normally these are students age 17 and age 18 who study for 2 years and then go off to university normally, or they may go to an apprenticeship or whatever career path they decide to follow. So those are the sort of recommended ages, and we tend to put students in their age group, in their year. But we do have some students who are particularly gifted, who maybe are working a year or 2 ahead, and some students who may have had time out of education. Perhaps they've been ill for a long period of time, and they may work in lower years. But because of this type of education, where they're in a classroom where it's not obvious and the students don't use cameras, we just use cameras really for the teachers. It does mean that students who are out of year don't feel isolated, and nobody knows that that they're slightly out of year, either below or ahead of year, so that works very well in terms of coping with those students who are above or working behind their age group. I'm going to go on detail to each key stage. Key stage 2, this is, like I say, students being 8 years old, 9 years old and 10 years old during the school year. You can see the core subjects that we study there at the top. We have some support groups, extra classes supporting in those subjects. Music is an option. There's some clubs available and some extracurricular activities within the school. And then obviously after Key Stage 2, students move on to then Key Stage 3. And these are students. Oh, sorry, I should have explained about the package. So at Key Stage 2, basically the core package covers 8 subjects, including a language, and we also have tutorials, project work, and then other activities as guest speakers. And then we also have some specialized subjects, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering and management, and mathematics, and also communication subjects, which we add on to sort of boost the performance of our students. Then moving on to Key Stage 3, so these are students being age 12, being age 13 or age 14 during the school year. You can see bottom left now the core subjects that are available to everyone, and obviously that's the sort of core package. There's a few little additional subjects come in. Some of these are dependent on the year group. So for example, film studies year 8, 9, German comes in year 9, and then there's art and other subjects that we start doing in these age groups as well. Again, there are support groups to help students in specific subjects. If they're struggling, there's some clubs, and there's a few sort of hobby courses we describe them as. So these are short courses where students can study babysitting childcare, which actually can lead to a level 2 qualification in babysitting, but also some creative writing, which is a great boost if students choose to do that course for their English skills. So that's Key Stage 3, and in terms of the package, you can see here that there are sort of 9 subjects basically at Key Stage 3 included in the core package. That does include one language, either French or Spanish at years 7 and 8, and then German if you want to at year 9. And obviously the progression of Key Stage 3 is we are preparing, certainly by the time they come to year 9, we are strongly preparing our students to undertake the GCSE courses that we do, the international GCSEs, and obviously it prepares them for that next level of their education. And then I suppose some people consider it gets a bit more serious in the education world, Key Stage 4, so these are students being aged 15 and 16, and they normally study for 2 years and prepare themselves for the international GCSEs. These exams are sat externally at exam centres, and we will provide information and support to help you find appropriate exam centres near to where you live. You do have to pay separately from the core package for the exams, but that's because all different exam centres charge different amounts, so we can't really charge a standard amount because it varies from centre to centre. But we will help you find exam centres. In the UK there's lots of schools that allow students to come in and take exams there, or there are special tuition centres we can use. Internationally we can use British Council offices, and also we can use some international schools. So having said that, these are the core subjects on offer. Down there bottom left are the core subjects that you might expect to see. There's a wider range of subjects now available as additional subjects at Key Stage 4, so you can see that the scope and the range of the curriculum is increasing greatly at this level. And then again there are the extracurricular activities, the clubs, the assured courses and support groups. The assured courses are non-IGCSE subjects. It's obviously, these are the more practical types of subjects where it's difficult for us to verify coursework in terms of getting IGCSEs, so we have assured courses approved by City and Guilds, and enables students to develop their artistic skills, their drama skills, and some computing skills in terms of computer game development, which we've done for a number of years now. In terms of the package for Key Stage 4, it gets slightly more complicated, but basically the core package includes 7 subjects. The core 3 subjects, English language, English literature and maths, are included, and then you can have a science and you can have a humanities. So that sort of gives you 5 subjects, and then you choose your other 2 subjects either from, you can choose more sciences, or you could choose history and geography, or you can choose some of those additional subjects that you saw listed before, computer science, psychology, subjects like that, which are very popular. And then obviously students take their IGCSEs at the end of Key Stage 4 when they're about 16 years old, and then they move on to A-levels, or potentially some students go to vocational college courses, or move on to sort of modern apprenticeships as well. So a wide range of opportunities. And then they move on to, I suppose, the 6th form of InterHigh, which is called Key Stage 5. And again, this is 2 years. So students study for 2 years to do international A-levels in those subjects you can see at the bottom. 1 or 2 of those subjects are not international A-levels, and they're only available in the United Kingdom. That information is on the website, and that's just because certain subjects, international A-levels, are not available, for example, in media studies. But certainly most of the core subjects there are available internationally, but it's listed on the website whether they're available in the UK or internationally. But there is the opportunity, if you want to study abroad and come to the UK to sit exams if there's subjects you want to do that are UK-only exams. And that's the sort of end of the academic path of our students. We recommend Key Stage 5, you do 3 subjects. That's normally what universities require, and that is a suitable level of work to do. They're priced independently, the A-levels, so you can choose as many really as you wish to do. And obviously after A-levels you go to university or college, or you go into workplace. We offer some careers advice. We are linked with the UCAS system, so that's the university entry system, and we can provide advice, references, whatever information you need. One thing I just remembered I forgot to mention at Key Stage 4 with the IGCSEs, if there's any subjects there you don't want to do that are in the core package, we don't force people to do subjects. So if you want to drop English literature, for example, that is fine for you. Right, I've got another video now. This is going to show you a bit of information about our learning platform that we have. Okay, great. So that's the bit of background showing you the learning platform, and we're going to move on to just briefly mention and show you some of the slides. Really, this is showing you the learning platform that you've just seen on the video. There's obviously a hub where students log in, they go to their lessons via a timetable, there's a notice board and various icons which take them to different activities, whether it's a social activity within the school or their academic activities. And then within their individual courses, whatever subject it is, there's quite a lot of information there on the course. So a lot of content is stored on the learning platform to enable students to access it. And I think you heard mentioned in one of the videos that the lessons are recorded, and that enables students to watch back the recordings of the lessons that they've been to. And obviously if they miss a lesson for any reason, that's great because they can catch up and see exactly what they missed. So this again is just a bit more detail on the course. You can see it's quite a sophisticated learning platform. It's obviously supporting the learning outside the classroom in addition to the live lessons, which are very much like we're having today. In terms of assessment, we have James, who's Head of Assessment and Examinations, and we do assess students when they come to the school. So not necessarily the first week they join, because that would be a bit stressful, but once, twice a year, normally October/November and January, we get our students to take tests to see what level they are at and what level they are capable of achieving, which obviously guides our teachers in terms of what the students are capable of getting in their exams. And obviously this enables us to track performance, and obviously then we report on performance reasonably regularly. You know, there's set work that is marked every week, and that information is available obviously to the students, and the parents can look over that as well, look over their students' information. And we'll have a parent portal as well, which provides information on attendance and other information that parents need. We have the social side of the school, so we have something called Yammer for students aged over 13. It's a social website that we keep a check on as well. So we do supervise this and keep an eye on any conversations going on it, but it does enable our students to interact socially outside of lessons and do some project-based work as well in that social platform. We do have some physical meetups, not a huge number because we don't want people who are sort of unable to attend to feel that they're missing out, but a few times a year we'll have a meetup. Normally every Easter we have an activity weekend where we go to a outward bound type place, and we do canoeing, climbing, all that sort of activity. At the end of the school year, the particularly years 11, 12, 13 get a chance to go to the InterHigh Ball, which has been held at Bristol for a number of years, and it's a very successful event. And then occasionally we go and visit Harry Potter studios or do other activities as well. So there is the occasional opportunity for students to meet up physically, socially, as well as online. And it's amazing what sort of relationships the students develop over their time at InterHigh, and they get to know each other very well. This page obviously is starting to talk about the cost of attending InterHigh. There is a discount for siblings, and then we have two different types of contract. This information is on the website, so if I go through it too quickly, apologies for that, but you can read this information on the school website as well. So we have the rolling contract, which you can renew every half term, and then we have an annual contract where you commit to a full year, and obviously that's at a slightly less rate over the year than the rolling contract, as you'll see. And notice that the external exam costs, so the IGCSEs and the A-levels, the international A-levels, are extra fees on top of the standard academic fees. These are the fees. Again, just to remind you, this information will be on the website, but you can see the packages available for an annual package, Key Stage 2. You can see the total, or if you not sure. I noticed some people mentioning in the chat before we started that could they do a short period of trial? Well, yes, you can do half a term trial, and at the end of half term, if you're not happy, which most people are, then you can choose to leave. But like I say, most people, if they do that, they would come for half a term, see that it works, and then probably sign up for the annual package, because obviously paying half termly is going to be more expensive than paying for the full year rate. But I believe you can switch after you've done a half term rolling contract onto the annual contract, and hopefully someone will text me and just tell me whether that's true or not, but I believe it's true. So you can see the fees there for Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3. Yes, it is true, someone said. That's good. So you can switch from the rolling package to the standard package, if you like, the annual package where you're committed for a year. Here you can see, obviously, the pricing gets slightly more complicated here. Key Stage 4, remember this is the IGCSEs. You can see the annual cost there of the core package, and then there are additional subjects. So if you do more than the 7 subjects, then there are annual fees for that, but you can see that's fairly reasonable. And then the A levels, as I mentioned, are priced individually, so 1, 2 or 3 is the normal package. We do occasionally get some students who choose to take 4, but like I say, we normally recommend 3 A levels is plenty to get into any university. And I did see someone text and say before this about, can you get to Oxford and Cambridge? Well, the answer is yes. We have had students get to Oxford and Cambridge, and we had a notice recently about a student who recently has joined Cambridge and is studying natural sciences there. So our students are able to achieve whatever they are capable of achieving. We'll provide them with the support, the information, the knowledge, and if they work hard, they'll get good grades, and if they don't work hard, then they won't get so good grades. So, but like I say, they end up as very independent learners. So at this stage, I'm going to hand over to Roxanne Pierce, one of our Associate Deans for Maths and Science, and she's going to show you some learning experience about what happens in the classrooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. A quick introduction then, as Paul introduced myself. I am Roxanne Pierce. I'm a head of faculty here for Sciences, and actually I've been a teacher at InterHigh for coming on to 9 years, so quite a lot of experience teaching our students. And really my role today is just to give you a little bit of insight into the experience the students might well have. So first of all, as you can clearly see, they can see their teachers. We use our webcams to help us communicate with our students, and also helps to build a relationship between ourselves and the students. When you first came in, there was a chat a chat pod up for you, and we were asking about which countries, for instance, you resided in, and that gives us the ability to have this constant interaction with our students during our lessons. We do have some shyer students, and those shyer students might wish to avoid the chat, but still want to communicate with their teachers. So we do also have another pod that we can put into our rooms, and those are called Q&A pods, and those are private chats, so only the teacher and the student can communicate there without it being public for the rest of the class. And some of our students choose to use that as their main communication tool. On top of that, we do have polls, and if I can just very quickly pop a poll onto the board. You can see how it works. So a little bit cheeky here, we get to get some information from you about favourite subjects, what you might be looking forward to. And then of course we have our main delivery method. So ordinarily we would, it definitely vary, but ordinarily there is a PowerPoint that guides our students through. Our students are able to access that PowerPoint in advance, and therefore they can add any extra notes that they wish to put on there. And it is a guidance, and it helps us to sort of make sure the students are on task. And we also have whiteboard facilities, which I will add in now. Bear with me. What's quite nice about the whiteboard, and indeed on our PowerPoints, is that we can ask our students to engage and interact onto our boards. So I can ask Paul, for instance. Let's do a little bit of maths testing with Paul. Paul, are you able to answer either of those questions?
My pen isn't working at the moment, but yes, I can answer them. Need to check what colour I'm using, might be a problem. There we go.
Thank you. Excellent.
Deliberate mistake. I'm going to say that.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. Yes. So what's quite nice about inviting our students to work on the boards in front of us is we can physically see what it is that they may or may not have understood very well. So I can see here that Paul made a deliberate mistake. We all heard that, didn't we? The answer, of course, should be 2A rather than 6A, so missing out the fact that we subtract the 2A. So we're able to judge our students as we're teaching them. We can invite them in. We might well differentiate our question level depending on the student that's in the class. Make sure they're always encouraged to participate. Obviously other ways that they can interact if they don't want to. We have the microphone facilities as well. They are welcome to talk to us. They pop their hand up. We can give them a microphone and they can speak to us. We also have, so not just a singular whole class board, we are able to provide breakout rooms which are enable us as teachers to provide either differentiated material or group work so that they get their social skills, and essentially we can set some work within breakout rooms and teachers can move between the rooms to support the learning that goes on in there. That we always obviously want to get our students as engaged as possible, and we will often invite them to work on the boards and with the activities that we are running. One of the things that obviously we can also do, the internet is a great source of research and extra materials that can help support the learning and the progress of our students. So we also have another pod that we can use that will direct them to specific websites to carry out, as I said, some research, to be able to fill in perhaps a worksheet based on some information they might find. Okay, thank you very much for your favourite subjects there. I'm glad that maths is the favourite winner. Excellent. As we will normally be found teaching maths, so that's brilliant. Thank you very much for your help there, Paul. Let's pop this away. One of the other queries we quite often get is, how it is that we get our students engaged, particularly in the sciences area. And there are a number of different ways that we can do that. Sometimes we might actually film an experiment and they can review that. Sometimes we do that live. But also we have got a lot of investment in simulations and resources that help students understand the science of how things are working. And we are working very hard to make some very engaging activities for our students, some of which I will demonstrate now.
I'm going to share some examples of interactive tasks that pupils might come across in their lessons here at InterHigh. This one's used in a Key Stage 3 science lesson to help pupils with their understanding on the topic acids and bases. It's an interactive lab where they can add from a series of household chemicals into a container, and they can then use a pH meter to test and read the pH. Following on from that, they can answer a series of interactive questions that give them feedback from the measurements and readings that they're taking in the simulation. We might use a similar kind of simulation at Key Stage 4. This one's all about circuits, and the pupils are given a past GCSE exam question to look at, and they're then encouraged to build their own version of the circuit using the interactive circuit builder. They can add components, they can connect it up, and they can take readings as well using a voltmeter and an ammeter. They can then use those readings to carry out calculations and answer a series of questions. We use examples of activities like drag and drops. The pupils would drag the names of some chemicals into the correct places, and the teacher would be able to see their responses and help them with any areas of weakness. This activity is called a maths mastery pathway, and the pupils work through this map via a series of villages which help them with their understanding of various parts of maths. They're developing their maths skills and along the way carrying out a series of quests and activities. For instance, here would be the village in the bottom right hand corner simplifying algebraic equations. They would pass their way into a game activity, have a go at some questions and get tutorials as well to help them with their understanding. At Key Stage 3 we have games that the pupils can play to help them with their understanding. They click on certain components and elements of the game, and they then use their problem solving skills to work through a set of problems or scenarios and get feedback and help their understanding of particular parts of the curriculum. At Key Stage 5 we are using some software called Labster, and this enables pupils to be able to carry out practical simulations which are three-dimensional. They can work in a simulated lab, and they can take readings, view items under a microscope to answer a set of questions, and they are able to get feedback on their responses as well. Those are some examples of interactive activities that we use in science and maths at InterHigh.
Okay, so you can see some of the things that go on within my area. I think that probably hopefully gives you a little bit of insight into learning here at InterHigh, so I'm going to pass over to Sarah again. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks so much, Roxanne. It's so exciting. I just wish a school like this had been around when I was growing up all those years ago. So I hope that you enjoyed that segment, and the next section is really a chance for you to ask some questions for us. So we're going to open up our Q&A panel, and before I do that I just want to introduce you to some of the colleagues that will be joining me on the panel. I'll be joined with Paul, who you've already met, and Roxanne, who you've also already met, and joining us will also be Thomas Evans, who's our Associate Dean for Innovation and Learning Experience. And we also have Matt Botting, who was talking to you at the beginning of this segment, who will be working as a sort of raconteur to help us to bring all of our questions to the audience. I think I'll hand over to Matt to give us a little bit of an update on his admissions.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Sarah. So like Sarah said, we're going to go through some FAQs very soon. Firstly, I would like to just show you the process of registration, because obviously we hope you've all enjoyed this session tonight. Hope you find it very informative, but also we'd like you to join the school at the end of it. So it's a good idea to show you how to get there. So before we start, you can go to that link there, which is shown on the screen in front of you. So www.interhigh.co.uk/register. And you can complete the registration form from there. The process is really straightforward. Then you'll immediately get a responsive email, which will allow you to set up what's called the parent portal. And that's an area which will be really useful throughout your time at InterHigh, and obviously explain certain things like you can see his child's attendance, grades, that sort of thing. But at the start, you'll be uploading documents to that to make sure that your student can attend the school. You'll then have to sign the contract and pay the fees which are required to join. And after that, you can complete, or the student can complete, an induction, which will show you how to use the system. Obviously, you've had a head start by attending today, because Roxanne's already shown you a lot of the different aspects of that. Once that's all complete, you receive your timetable and we'll start learning at InterHigh, which is the exciting part. Okay, and without further ado, we'll move on to this is just another little video, sorry, to show you how to access the FAQs. So if anything goes unanswered tonight, there's lots of information on the website, but this FAQ section in particular is extremely useful. So just watch that little clip there on the screen in front of you just to show you how to get there. And hopefully that will be very helpful. I think I'll leave that running while we begin the 10 FAQs. Now, these are based on questions which come in quite regularly to us and also based on questions we've been asked at previous open evenings. So first of all, I'll go to Paul, who you've obviously already heard from tonight. The first question we have is, this is probably more for some of our international students, but as lessons are based on the UK time, how might a student cope with the time difference?
Okay, well the lessons are timed in United Kingdom time, and we've allocated the early part of the day, so sort of from morning to early afternoon, for our core subjects. That's to help people in the Middle East who are a few hours behind later in the day, or even in the Far East where there are a number of hours later in the day. But bear in mind all our lessons are recorded as well, so that you can watch the recordings at any time if you miss a lesson for any reason.
Brilliant, thanks Paul, thanks for that. On a similar note, I'll come to Roxanne next. We've already sort of covered this already, but a question we often get asked is, are lessons recorded or live lessons?
Okay, yes, certainly. So all of our lessons are taught live, and they are also recorded. So if for whatever reason a student can't attend live, perhaps they have a sporting match or something along those lines, and they can't be there, then they can catch up by watching the recordings. They can access the resources that obviously go alongside those recordings as well, so they can still almost have a lifelike or a live experience, but yeah, we do teach live and we record those.
That's brilliant, thanks for that, Roxanne. And we'll come to Tom next for a question about entry requirements. A lot of people ask, are there entry requirements, and if so, what are they?
Hi Matt, thank you. No, there are no entry requirements for InterHigh. We're a non-selective school, so there's no entry requirements. As you go through the registration process with your student now, you will be asked to provide a couple of documents, but we have no entry requirements to join either the school or the sixth form either.
That's brilliant, thanks for that, Tom. We'll go to Paul next. This is a question about the fees. I know they were covered earlier on in the PowerPoint presentation. But what are the fees if someone is changing from a rolling to an annual contract, which is something which can be done? Like Paul mentioned earlier, often people like to join with a rolling contract so they can trial the school. But how does that affect the fees, please, Paul?
Yes, Matt. So we do have a number of people who join the school. They're not 100% sure, so they join on a rolling contract for half a term to trial it out. And then at the end of that period, you have the option to switch to the annual contract. When you switch to the annual contract, you only pay the percentage of the year that is left. So, for example, if you were on a rolling contract now and you decided to switch to the annual contract, you would only pay 5/6 of that over the rest of the year. So it's done sort of proportional to the half terms that you are attending in the school, so you don't end up paying extra.
Brilliant, thanks, Paul. I think that was quite clear, but I might move back to the fees section of the PowerPoint a little bit later on, just in case anyone's got any questions after the Q&As. We'll go to Roxanne next. A bit more of a specific question about the subjects we offer, which is, which exam boards do we use?
Okay, so we have quite a number of exam boards that we're accredited to deliver. For the IGCSEs, we can deliver the Cambridge International, which is CIE, EdExcel, AQA, OCR, and the WJEC, which is a Welsh board. Most of the IGCSEs we deliver are EdExcel, and obviously content might well actually be very similar between some of those exam boards. And then at A-level, again, there is various different boards that we are accredited to deliver, including AQA, EdExcel, and OCR.
That's brilliant. Thanks again, Roxanne. That's great. Another question which is related to that, I'll come to Tom Evans for next. Do students, again, this is one which is perhaps more targeted at some of the overseas students who are with us tonight, but do students have to travel to the UK to complete their exams?
Thanks, Matt. No is the short answer. You don't. So in the lower years of the school, whenever we conduct exams, those are all done online. So students complete those exams online. As we get into the latter part of the school, so for the GCSEs, IGCSEs and A-levels, students sit those at exam centres that are near to them. We have an exams team at InterHigh who can help you find a centre which is close to you, but you don't need to travel to the UK. If you are in the UK and you'd like to, we do have our own exam centre based in South Wales, and the information about that is on our website as well, should you choose to use our exam centre. Matt did touch briefly earlier on, I think Paul did in his presentation as well. There are some of the subjects which the examinations are only offered in the UK. Those subjects are clearly marked on the website, so if you have a look, there's a little sticker on those that says.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Tom. That's very helpful. Obviously, we hope that the exams go ahead, but slightly uncertain times at the moment. Another question for Roxanne now, quickly. Again, slightly linked, but can qualifications which are earned at InterHigh count towards university? I saw there was a question earlier today, which Paul again covered in his presentation about Oxford and Cambridge. But can qualifications be used towards university?
Yes, certainly. And as you said, Paul has already mentioned that we have had students go to Oxford and Cambridge. If you have any concerns at all about whether or not the university will accept either the IGCSEs or the A-levels, obviously please do contact them for peace of mind. But yes, you're absolutely fine to go to university with a qualification.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Thanks for that, Roxanne, again. We'll come to Paul next. Another question which is slightly related to the fees. Do we offer a sibling discount for multiple students from the same family?
Yes, I think this was on my presentation, so just to confirm, if you join now, the sibling discount for the rest of the year will be £125. If you had joined back in September, the discount would have been slightly more because you're getting a full year's discount. So it's £125 discount if you join after half term, and obviously you do need to register now to get started after half term.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it's prorated, like Paul said, and obviously we encourage anyone who wants to start on the 2nd of November to sign up as soon as possible, because there'll be quite a lot of demand, as there often are. Another question for Tom Evans about the social aspect of the school. Often people think learners might miss out on socialising. So can you let us know how learners would go about socialising with their peers if they join the online school?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So really, I suppose we are really keen to make sure that anybody who studies at InterHigh doesn't miss out on socialising with peers and don't end up with any less of an experience than they would if they attended a physical school. So we really support and we encourage students to socialise as much as possible. We're doing a lot of work at the moment with the curriculum, trying to encourage peer-to-peer learning and students working together through their learning to make sure that that's effective. We also run the social events like Paul touched on earlier on. We have our own safeguarded social media channel. We run clubs and courses throughout the school, and we also have a common room as well that students can attend on a variety of topics throughout the year. We provide our students with training on social media to make sure that they use those channels in a responsible and safe as well. One other thing that perhaps some people don't think about is the way that our timetable is built flexibly. Is often students at InterHigh have more time to engage in social activities outside of the school than they would if they were attending
That's brilliant. That's a very good point as well, Tom. Thank you for that. So this will be the last question of our 10 FAQs. So I'm sure we'll be ready in a second to move over to the Q&A panel, which will allow you to sort of open up and ask any questions you might have. And we'll do our best to answer those. We've got a team working here slightly behind the scenes, not on camera, who'll be able to help. Just the last question now for Paul. Can a student select a start date? And when would we recommend students to start?
Yes, we take students throughout the school year, so from September even through to June and July potentially, students can join the school. You do have to bear in mind though that there is a process of going through registration, getting information, sorting out payments and arranging things which can take up to sort of 2 weeks you need to allow for. So I would advise anybody who's looking to start after half term, which is November the 2nd, really you need to be getting your registration form in from the website over the next week to get started. And if, for example, you've decided you're going to start in January, then I would advise halfway through December, get your application in as well, so that you're giving the admission staff and yourselves time to prepare and get yourself and your children ready to start this.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Paul. That's a very good point. Very important because we've had quite a lot of demand that we certainly did at the start of September, and I expect we probably will again in November. So as you probably noticed, the Q&A pod has appeared on your screen, so you'll be able to type any questions you might have now, and I will then hopefully put the questions to the panel. And the team, like I mentioned before, behind the scenes will be trying to type answers to any which we don't answer with the panel. We've had one question come in here from Raouf. Is it still possible to join in Year 10 despite having missed the first 5 weeks of school? Now, Paul probably did cover a bit of it then. I'll come to Tom, though, because it covers a slightly wider question about how do students catch up on missed work if they join slightly later in the year.
Okay, so the direct answer to that question is yes, of course you can. As Paul just mentioned a minute ago, we have students joining throughout the year. If you do join, and it's not the beginning of the year, you still have access to all the resources in the course, so you could look back through the presentations that Roxanne spoke about earlier on, the interactive elements as well, and look at those to catch up. You'll also have access to some of the recordings as well, so for example the lead lesson recordings would also be.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Tom. So there's plenty of different ways in which you can catch up. So we certainly encourage people to join even if they have missed a few weeks at the start. Another question has just come in from Christian Frankham. So thanks for the question. Does the school set homework in addition to normal lessons? I'll come to Roxanne for that one, if that's okay.
Yep, that's absolutely fine. Yes, there are tasks that we will assign students to encourage them to revisit and revise and practice the skills from the classes. So although there are activities within the class, there are some activities we will ask them to revisit in the weeks following.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Roxanne. That's great. I've just seen a message. A few people might be asking questions about our exam results in the Q&A pod. They'll be going onto the website fairly soon if they haven't been updated already. So keep an eye on that. You'll be able to see those on the website if you've asked any of those questions, and we might not be able to answer them at the moment. I've had a question from Julie about separate logins to the parent portal. Tom, perhaps I can come to you for this one. Can parents have separate logins rather than a shared login?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. So we can access. We can create several different logins, so you can independently check at.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Tom. A question coming from Michelle Alman. I'll go to you for this one, Paul, if that's okay. This is regarding the curriculum we follow. Do we follow the UK national curriculum? I know we've obviously mentioned some of the qualifications already, IGCSEs, that sort of thing.
Yes, so Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3, the subjects that we teach, we base on the national curriculum. So any student who comes to us, should for any reason they leave and go to a physical school, they will be at an appropriate level for their age. So there shouldn't be any difficulty in terms of moving between physical and our school. So we teach, we base our curriculum on the national curriculum, and then of course that prepares our students for international GCSEs, which are, the syllabuses are very similar to standard GCSEs. They just have a slight international flavour, which suits our school.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Paul. That's very helpful. I'll come to Roxanne next. We've got a question about textbooks which have come in, obviously required in most schools. Do we require students to have textbooks, or are there other resources available?
There are a few textbooks that would be required for the courses to be completed. We try to minimise those as much as possible because you know they're an extra cost. There are so many resources available to the teachers and therefore to the students to help support their learning, that wherever we think we can do without them and at no detriment to the students, then we won't have the textbooks requested of you. Some courses might put down an optional book because we know that students sometimes like to follow a course along with some extra examples. But you'll be given a book list, and on there it will be quite clearly highlighted which ones are required and possibly those that are optional that you may.
That's brilliant. Thanks again. I'll come to Paul for the next question. We've had one in about the length of the school day and the sort of hours people might expect to do per week. I know you did a lot of work with the timetable, Paul, so hopefully you're the best person to answer that.
Okay, that's actually a very difficult question to answer. Because of our flexibility, we may have some students who may at GCSE only do 3 or 4 subjects, and then at the other extreme we may have students who do 9 or 10 subjects. So we allow students and families to choose how many subjects they choose to do and what they're studying. So obviously that's why there's no sort of set number of hours that we deliver for. We don't have a fixed time period like a physical school. We have lessons timetabled throughout the week, and depending on what subjects you pick, then that will determine what lessons and how many hours a week you do. But we deliver, you know, it's at GCSE and A-level, we deliver the recommended hours that are required to achieve the qualifications individually per subject. And like I say, it just depends how many subjects you choose as to how many hours a week you end up doing.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Paul. I think we're slightly over time actually for the session, which usually finishes at 7:30. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to wrap up there. Obviously, we encourage anyone who hasn't had their questions answered to have a look at the FAQs page. We've obviously mentioned that a few times today, but it's very helpful, and hopefully you'll be able to get an answer to your question there. I will pass back over to Sarah now, who I'm sure will wrap up this session, but thanks for asking all your questions, and we hope you've enjoyed the evening.
Excellent. Thank you so much to the panel members for your time today. And thanks to the audience, of course, for your excellent questions. We hope that we can address all of those. So I just want to just draw your attention to just a couple of last links for you. If you are thinking about registering with us, please do go to internet.co.uk/register. Again, our FAQs are there, frequently asked questions, to internet.co.uk/FAQs. We'd love to hear more from you. If you do want to contact us, it is interhigh.co.uk/contact. I also want to thank the team behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, of course. Thanks particularly to Esther Clark and the marketing team who've been making this event so smooth today. Keith Garrity and the IT team who've been supporting the event as well. And to Sarah Gardner and the operations team who've been helping to answer some of the questions today, and will continue to provide excellent support for you if you do decide to join us, which we hope you will. If you are looking to register for the 2nd of November, please do remember to register with us 2 weeks in advance, please. And that sort of really wraps it up from my side. So I really do welcome you, and I do look forward to welcoming your children to InterHigh in November, and wish you all the best of luck for this evening. We are going to pass you on to the website now magically as we end this session today. So thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful evening.